everybody. It's Allie, and welcome to our YNR chat for Sunday, December 4th. Well, Nikki is back on the scene, and she's back on the scene with a bang. In a big way. Actually, maybe she's back on the scene with more of a glug, if you know what I mean. She's totally drinking again. She is so far off the wagon, it's not even funny. I was thinking the entire time, like, she spent months in rehab. Months and months in rehab. She's been in rehab since, I think, they said June or July, and the second she gets out, she's drinking. It must not be a very good rehab. But then it started to dawn on me. She's got to be drinking for a reason. There's got to be something going on in that beautiful blonde brain of hers. And oh, indeed, that was the case. This week, Nikki full on confessed to Diane's murder. Head explosion! I was not expecting that whatsoever, but the whole first part of the week she kept saying really cryptic things, just that that she understands the instinct to protect her family at any cost, and how she knows for certain that no one in her family could have possibly have committed the murder. So in my head I kept thinking, well, she must know something. She must have been there, but never has it ever occurred to me that Nikki would have actually been the one to kill Diane. And don't worry, my friends, I still don't think Nikki killed Diane. I think there is way more to this story, but let's back up a bit and just talk a little bit about the rest of the week, because before things got super serious, there was this reunion between Nikki and Victor that was kind of tainted by the fact that she was sloshed. I mean, she's taking secret swigs of liquor before she meets Victor. Actually, I was really surprised at how Nikki got into town, and she got into town the same day that Victor had to spend the night in jail. She didn't call him, she didn't call Nick, she didn't call Victoria. She's just, I think, pacing the floors of the ranch, trying to figure out what it is she's gonna do and trying to drown all of the feelings and the memories that she's having. But Victor did finally get home, and they had this reunion, and I was so sucked into the screen during those scenes. There's something about Nikki and Victor, can't help it. I am a sucker for Nikki and Victor. It's classic soap opera couple. I think that's what it is. It just draws me in, and Victor just looks in her eyes, and she's looking at him like he is her hero, and I can't help it. I can't help but be compelled, except I know in the back of my mind that Victor is always romantic, always sweet, always someone sweeping you off your feet until it is that he gets what he wants. You know, until he gets you to marry him or gets you under his wing, and then it's back to his old ways, just like in a snap. And so it's hard for me as a Nikki and Victor fan to love them so much, yet know on so many levels that it's ridiculous that she keeps going back to him. He asked her to move back into the ranch, and I'm on the one hand saying, yes, I want it so much, but on the other hand thinking, Nikki, you just need to get away from Victor. You have so much history, it's such a beautiful relationship, but at some point you have to say, this is insane that I keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But their reunion was very quickly tainted. Nikki goes off to a meeting. She's still attending her Alcoholics Anonymous meetings and trying to work through everything that she's working through. She actually apologized to everyone at the meeting for the scene that she made at the last one she attended. But she goes there, tells her story, and who is sleazing around in the background? Deacon. Deacon is back, and Deacon has new hair, which was a very pleasant surprise. I was really tired of his do in the past, and now it's looking much darker. It's looking less greasy. We're on the right track with Deacon's hair. And just a side note, if any of you guys haven't seen this, the actor who plays Deacon, Sean Kanan, I believe is his name, wrote a book recently called How to Be a Gentleman, which I thought is really, really kind of cool. You should look it up online. He's just got little tips for guys about how to be a gentleman. I believe that's the title of it. And I just thought that was such a neat concept and such a 180 from what the character of Deacon is. And I think even on Bold and the Beautiful, Deacon has always just been this kind of slimy character, and here it's just interesting that the actor couldn't be anything further from that. And by the way, I just read that the actor has just recently gotten engaged, so he's in a good place in his life, and it's good to see him back on Y&R. I mean, I've had a long past with Deacon where I've liked him, loved him, hated him. I've had a lot of mixed emotions for him, but I'm hoping that this time we can do a little bit of retooling of his character, give him some redeeming qualities, and see him back on the scene, because he is someone, I think, who cares about Nikki. And although he made the huge mistake of being the one to push her off the wagon in the first place, I do think that he seems to care now for her. Do you get that impression? I mean, do you think it's genuine? He seems to look at Nikki and really want to help her. Maybe he feels responsible for the role he's played in her kind of downward spiral. But either way, he was the one to alert Victor that Nikki was drinking again. And he had this little interaction with her at the Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and I think later at the ranch too, where he intimated that he knows what Nikki did. It was more of this, I know what you did last summer kind of thing he was pulling around Genoa City. Obviously, Deacon was on the scene of Diane's murder because he was doing the same thing with Victoria and I want to say Nick also, basically saying that he knew that they were there and saw what they did, but not really giving any more information. But he had the same words to say to Nikki. I was there, I saw what you did. And Nikki very quickly brushed him off, but whatever it was that happened in the park on that night, Deacon apparently had a very clear view of what happened with Nikki. I'm not sure that I feel any closer to putting together the pieces on what happened that night, but this week, major revelations from Nikki. She gets smashed. I mean, sopping wet, soaked, drunk. She was so off, so off of her rocker, hanging out in the barn, and she's going over the scenario in her head, talking about how much she hated Diane, and there was a time when she and Victor had slept together in the barn, and she's saying, Diane, I bet you were standing there looking at us the entire time. And as of course there was the famous picture that Diane took of Nikki and Victor in bed later upstairs at the ranch that later got published to the not Restless Style. It was some tabloid article that accused Nikki of being this home wrecker. And then there was the lawsuit for alienation of affection that Diane filed against Nikki. So Nikki's obviously brewing. Her hatred for Diane is bubbling beneath the surface, and Victor comes in just as she is at her drunkest, and she just starts to confess. She starts to just tell him, you're not gonna believe what I did. It's so dark. It's turning me black inside. What I did, I feel terrible that I let my family take the fall for this when I killed Diane. I killed Diane. The first confession we've gotten on this murder, and I don't believe it at all. I don't believe it one little bit. I'm sure that you guys don't either. We've seen enough Y&R to know, I think, that this is not the truth. Nikki reveals that she basically doesn't remember doing it. She kind of had a blackout moment. She remembers going to the park. She remembers seeing Victoria and Victor there. She remembers possibly confronting Diane, and the next thing you know, there's just this blank spot, like missing film in her memory, and she just remembers waking up, I'm assuming probably not even next to Diane. All she said was she remembers waking up with the bloody rock sitting right next to her, and she had blood all over her clothes. So much so that she had to start to cover it up. She had, of course, broken out of rehab to come, back to Genoa City to do this deed. And on her way back to rehab, she decided to buy a whole new wardrobe. She's trying to get rid of the evidence. But I'm not seeing it. I don't believe it at all. I don't believe it at all. I think that Nikki was present at the time of Diane's murder, but there's just no way. She doesn't remember doing it. The way that she is unfolding the story just doesn't quite click with me. I don't think she just went on a drunken rehab and decided to kill Diane. I think she was angry with Diane, but just the way she keeps saying almost that she can't believe she would do it. It wasn't something that she intended to do. It just makes me think that it's not the truth. But unfortunately, meanwhile, Ronan is putting together little pieces of this puzzle, and he realizes that Nikki's back in town. He starts subpoenaing the rehab center and finds out that yes, Nikki went missing on the day of Diane's murder. There was a stolen wallet and ID card that he believes that Nikki took in order to cover her identity and rent a car and come back to Genoa City. They traced the rent-a-car, and it obviously had enough miles on it for her to make it to Genoa City and back almost exactly. And what was the other piece of evidence? Oh, the ATM. She had stopped at an ATM along the way to withdraw some money, of course, to buy some new clothes. So Ronan's sitting in his office still trying to put together the pieces of this puzzle, or more appropriately, the pillows of this puzzle. He's still staring at these pillows. He's picking up this one that says, "There's no place like home," with a red pump on it, which of course was a flashback to when we saw Nikki in England, or on her way to the airport to go to England. And the first thing we saw as she came back to town was her red pump. And Ronan's just looking at this pillow and still trying to put together who the suspects are, and the entire time I'm looking at Ronan and I'm thinking, dude, stop looking at all of these damn pillows trying to figure out who the different people that they represent, and start thinking about who put the pillows there. Somebody put the pillows in Diane's hotel room. That's the person that did it. Everything else is just trying to throw you off track, quite clearly just trying to throw you off track. So focus on who put the pillows there, and you'll be able to put you'll be able to solve the case. But that is not where his head is. He's now focused in on Nikki. He goes to the ranch. He's gonna make an arrest. However, Victor, after hearing Nikki's confession, is not about to just let her go down. He sees her in this ruined state. I mean, she is crying, her mascara is running, her hair is all mussed up, and when she said that it was turning her dark or turning her black inside, just that depth, that feeling from her, it was pathetic. Nikki is clearly at one of the lowest points in her life, and Victor has been missing her. She's the balance of his life, and just seeing her standing there like that in ruins, he realizes that he can't let her take the fall for this. It's kind of revealed in a series of flashbacks that what Victor decides to do was he got a call from the gates of the ranch, and they alerted him that the police were there. Ronan was there with an arrest warrant for Nikki. They were going to haul her butt down into jail, so Victor has to think fast. Nikki, he decides to put her on the ground. She's passed out. He buries her in a pile of hay, like takes the pitchfork and just bling, throws a blanket and some hay over her, like she's laying under a pile of hay in her fur coat and her full outfit. And I tell you what ensues is, I think, one of the best scenes that we've seen, especially out of Eric Braeden, in so long. Ronan comes into the barn to try to arrest Nikki, and to throw him off, Victor pretends to be drunk and confesses to Ronan that he's the one that's killed Diane all along. And it is convincing. If I didn't know better, damn, I would have thought Victor killed her. Because the way he was talking, just, yeah, I did it. Ronan's like, how did you kill her? And he's like, I injected her. I injected that bitch with the, whatever the medicine was, whatever it was that Adam had planted on him. He's like, yeah, I did it. I did it, and I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you, you pesky punk, you young punk. I think he called Ronan a young punk or something earlier in the week, and I thought that was hilarious. But he starts basically insulting Ronan, telling him he's an idiot, that he hasn't figured it out sooner, and just pretending to be drunk and slurring his words and just confessing, and it's so convincing. And who is lurking around in the background for this entire thing? Adam. Adam heard at the coffee house the APB go out for the police to head out to the Newman Ranch. Adam followed them, and he stands there and witnesses this entire scene of his father's confession. And there's this very poignant moment where Victor looks at Adam and he says, "Tell him, son, tell him. You saw me kill Diane. Tell him." And there's this moment where I thought, I think that Adam knows very well that Victor did not kill Diane. And I think that Adam knows precisely what went down at the park. So there's this moment where I'm thinking, is Adam going to maybe tell the truth? Is he going to let Ronan know that Victor had nothing to do with it? Or is he going to go right ahead and take this opportunity? He's been trying to frame Victor for the murder. So what's he gonna do? And silly me, thinking that Adam might have a heart, he confirms. He tells Ronan, yeah, I saw him. I saw him murder Diane. And Ronan says, that's enough. That's it. Victor Newman, you have the right to remain silent. He just cuffs him and hauls him down to the station, arrests him, gets ready to take his mugshot, but he's sitting back at his desk later. I think he's talking to Paul and Michael maybe. And he just says, he confessed to the whole thing, but, I'm still wondering, is that everything? So Ronan has finally made his arrest. Suddenly it seems as though he has come to the conclusion he's been waiting to come to for weeks. But is it true or is it false? I'm actually really curious to see what is going to happen once they exhume Diane's body, because initially we all thought that she died of the blunt force trauma to the head from the rock, but now it's become revealed, conveniently, that there was some kind of poison that was injected to her potentially as well. So I don't know if she actually died from the poison or from the rock, or maybe she first got the poison then got the rock. I'm not sure exactly, but there is definitely more to the story here, and I'm excited to see what happens when the body is exhumed. I do, however, feel really, really bad for Kyle. Hasn't this kid been through enough? First of all, I love the actor. He is the little kid actor. He's back this week. I don't know where the heck he's been. I just can't believe that the storyline has taken so long to get to where it is. Just to give you an idea for a running count here, it has been, in real time, 17 weeks since Diane was murdered. Now, in Genoa City time, I'm sure it's far less, but I can't even remember the last time that a storyline was dragged out for this long. It's really been too long. They put the whole thing, I think, on the side for way too long, and it lost me. It really, really lost me along the way. They put it on hold and threw so much information out there that it's been hard to really get into it. I mean, it's been hard to put together the pieces, but the one thing I do and have consistently felt is sympathy for Kyle. I think that he deserves to have some answers in his mother's death, and I'm surprised that Jack isn't being more aggressive with them about finding the killer for his son's sake, because as Kyle comes back into Genoa City this week, there's little whisperings around at the coffee house where they're having a drink that Diane's body is being exhumed, and Kyle's like, why can't they just leave her alone? Hasn't this just been going on long enough? And can you imagine your mother being murdered and then them taking this long to discover who killed her, and then exhuming the body to do further testing? I mean, didn't they do testing at the first time for poisons? I mean, that's kind of standard that they would do that would be part of the autopsy, that they would do a toxicology. But anyway, it's okay, Allie, it's not 100% real, but I feel sorry for Kyle. He and Jack decided to go down to the police station to find out what the heck is up with this case, and it was right at the same time that Victor was being, not arrested, he was being detained the first time, and there was this really sad confrontation between Victor and Kyle that just really tugged at my heart a little bit. Kyle just takes one look at Victor, sees him standing there, and said, you did it? You were the one that killed my mother? And Victor's just like, no, son, I didn't. And then Kyle's like, I don't believe you, I hate you! Oh! That made me really, really sad, because Kyle and Victor used to be pretty good friends, you know? Of course, Victor always knows how to get along with the kids. He just buys them stuff. That's how he gets everyone's affection. He buys them things. But it hurt my heart a little bit to see Kyle hating Victor, and I'm who knows what he's gonna have to say to him now that Victor has confessed to the murder. That's gonna be really hard too. So I will be curious to see if there is some sort of another confrontation between Kyle and Victor, because I would like to see Kyle step it up and decide to do a little more to get involved, to try to find out who killed his mother. Now, the other, kind of X factor here, I think, is Adam. I really do think that Adam saw everything that went down at the park that night, and it's just a matter of, is he gonna have a conscience to say anything about it? There was actually, at the beginning of the week, this scene where Paul and Ronan discovered that Adam was caught on camera in Victor's office, potentially planting that vial of poison or whatever in Victor's safe, essentially setting Victor up for this murder. And how can you forget that, for crying out loud? It's just, Adam somehow seems to wriggle off the hook as Ronan and Paul are questioning him. But I had to mention this just great scene. Adam sitting behind the desk at Newman Enterprises as Ronan and Paul question him with Michael in the background. Just these four leading men all together in one spot. It was awesome. Like, it was a fun scene because Adam is so smug and Ronan is so smug, and Paul's kind of trying to play good cop, and then Michael's just throwing in little jabs there just when he can get one in. And it was a fun scene. It was getting pretty thick in that room, let me tell you. With Adam and Ronan together, they just play off of each other so well. It was an interesting interesting banter between all four of them. And I'm just wondering if, now that Adam has gotten what he's wanted, he's wanted Victor to be arrested for this murder, and now suddenly he's kind of getting what he's wanted, and I'm wondering if he is going to come forward with any new information, because as soon as Victor gets arrested, Adam makes a phone call to Sharon. Sharon's still hanging out on the farm, at Sam's farm in San Pueblo. She's taking her time. She's wearing her flannel shirts. But she's relaxing and resting. But Adam gives her this phone call. I think mostly just because he wanted to have something to tell Sharon. I think he's reaching for reasons to talk to Sharon. And, I mean, there was a little scene between Adam and Nick earlier in the week where Adam was trying to fish around with Nick to try to find out what Sharon is doing, for what she had done for Thanksgiving, and are she and Sam a couple, and what's the deal there. So clearly Adam is still in love with Sharon and looking for reasons to talk to her. So he calls her to tell her that Victor's been arrested, and now Sharon's in this position of, wait a minute, Victor was the one that came forward to try to help me get out of jail when no one else would. Victor stood by me through my entire trial, and so now there's no way that I'm just going to let him flounder. I don't believe that he could have done this. I mean, Sharon knows that Victor believed in her innocence, and in return, she is ready to believe in his. So I'm kind of wondering if now Sharon will come back to Genoa City and possibly work with Adam, or draw information out of Adam that will help get Victor off the hook, and hopefully, for crying out loud, help put the nail in Diane's coffin for good and tell us who the heck it was that murdered her, so that we can finally move on with our lives. Actually, I really don't need anyone to tell me who killed Diane at this point, because I know it was Patti. I still want to know exactly what happened, though. I want all of the pieces to be put together in order for me so that I can just go, so I can sleep at night. But still, I think it's pretty clear that Patti had to be the one to kill Diane, and I think that that's going to become more solidified within the next coming weeks, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But first, I want to say that Patti is pretty funny. She is hanging around Genevieve's mansion wearing a veil over her face anytime somebody comes to the door, or anytime anyone other than Genevieve is around, which is ridiculous because she looks perfectly fine outside of the fact that she has a patch on her left cheek and a patch on her right cheek. Like, it's not like she's some hideous Phantom of the Opera character that she needs to cover her face. It's just like 2 cheek lesions. But still, she's still sneaking around Genevieve's mansion with her veil on. And sort of funny, there was this stray cat that made its way into Genevieve's house, which Patti has become fast friends with. And as Jack and Kyle were over at Genevieve's house this week, Kyle kind of took a liking to the cat, and Genevieve is like, why don't you go ahead and take him home? Go ahead and name him and take him home. So Kyle immediately names the cat Dave. Dave the cat. And takes him home to Jack's house. And Patti does not like this. Patti loves her cats. She treats her cats a lot better than she treats people sometimes. So she sneaks away from her job at Genevieve's mansion to go over to the Abbott house to get her cat back. She's sitting on the floor with it like, they're not giving you the good stuff, are they here? You know, like, we give you homemade, fresh from scratch food, and they don't. They're giving you dry cat food. So she goes back to steal her cat back. It was really, really funny. But the shocker of the week, well, one of the shockers of the week, is that Emily is back as Tucker's psychiatrist. So, huge reveal. Ashley and Tucker get back from their honeymoon, and Tucker decides to go talk to his therapist. So we see this scene of him just revealing his thoughts, and all of a sudden a flash to the therapist, which is Emily, which I thought was really, really cool and really interesting. I'm very, very excited about this. Well, I guess, you know, on the one hand, too, I like her as Tucker's therapist. I was very impressed with her analysis of him, actually. She and Tucker had this really great heart-to-heart where she hit the nail on the head completely. She just, you know, pointed out to Tucker that he's living a double standard. And it needed to be said. Tucker thinks that he deserves forgiveness from Devon for not being there for him as a child, yet he doesn't believe that Catherine deserves forgiveness from him. So it's a huge double standard there, and Emily convinced him to go to Catherine and extend an olive branch, and he actually came to the door with some candies, some red hot candies for her, because he read in her book that that was her favorite candy, and that's his favorite candy too. So there was this moment where, wow, Emily just convinced Tucker to patch things up with Catherine. Of course, it was almost immediately dashed as soon as he found Harmony lounging around in Catherine's living room, but at least he tried. You know, I think that Emily, he probably still needs Emily's help, because you can't just he kind of half-assed tried, you know. I mean, if you're gonna try, but don't just turn around and walk out as soon as Catherine's not doing something that you want her to do. But anyway, I was sort of hoping for him to continue his relationship with Emily because it seems to be good for him, but Ashley seems to have this problem with Emily that I don't totally understand. She insisted that Tucker stop seeing her, and I don't totally know why, because everything that happened with Emily when she was in Genoa City was a result of Patti. It had nothing to do with Emily. Emily has never been anything but totally open and honest and awesome, and in fact, I really liked her with Jack. So any weird vibes that Ashley gets off of her are related to the incident with Patti. So if you want to be mad at somebody, Ashley, be mad at Patti. But instead, it kind of seems like she's treating Emily like she's sort of a second-class citizen, which I really don't like at all. But I'm kind of hoping, honestly, I'm kind of hoping, and I think this is where this is going, I would like to see, maybe now that Emily's back in Genoa City, I would like to see her resolve her relationship with Jack, because they had a really good thing going on and it only got messed up because of the situation with Patti. If none of that would have ever happened, Jack and Emily probably would still be together today. So I think it's going to be interesting if Emily's planning on staying in town for her to become a little bit of competition for Genevieve, because I don't think Jack ever really got over his feelings with Emily. It was sort of something that just got unresolved. Jack got fooled. Jack got tricked big time. He thought that he was with this woman that he loved and that he was going to marry her, and it didn't even turn out to be her. And, you know, after he went and rescued Emily from the mental institution where Patti was holding her hostage, Jack kind of just got his whole world crushed as Emily decided to pull away. She just decided she wanted to get out of Genoa City and she left, you know, for good. But now she's back. I'm really happy. I like Stacey Haddock so much. And I think she is going to usher in the final era of the Who Killed Diane Jenkins storyline, because I believe that Patti is going to try to pull another switcheroo. I think she's going to somehow try to switch places with Emily again as an opportunity to get back involved in Jack's life. But this time, I'm hoping and I think that we are going to be able to keep Emily in Genoa City and get Patti convicted for Diane's murder. Finally. Speaking of Harmony, I know I say this every time that she's on screen, but every time Harmony is on screen, I am transfixed. I love the actress. I feel like she is the element that has been missing from the Winters family since Drew died. And that's a big statement. That's coming from a Drew fan. Nothing has ever been the same with the Winters since Drew died. And for the first time, there's a strong female lead in there, someone who can carry a scene on her own. I mean, when this woman is in a scene with some of the most legendary daytime soap opera stars, she carries it. And she's new to this show. I know she's not new to acting and not new to soap world even, but she carries her own. I love her so much. I wish somebody would give her a job. She's looking for a job right now. She could work at Newman. She could work at Chancellor. She could work at, who knows? There could be any number, even the coffee house. I don't know, whatever. But I would like to see her just doing something and taking some pride. And I like that Catherine offered her a job as her personal assistant this week, and Harmony said, no. I appreciate the offer, but I want to make my own way. I have gotten sober on my own. That's all been me. I got a job, and held a job all on my own before. And now this is something that I want to do all on my own again. This is about me and my recovery and my life, and I'm not here to take handouts from you. It would be suspicious if she was living at the Chancellor Mansion, hanging out, eating Cheetos on the couch, and, letting Catherine just give her a job, just being Catherine's quote-unquote assistant, taking notes for her or whatever. No. This is a woman who wants to do it on her own, and I totally respect that. And I really feel compelled toward her struggle. She ended up attending an AA meeting or an Addicts Anonymous meeting. It happened to be the same one that Nikki was at. Of course, Nikki struggles with alcoholism, and Harmony is a former, was a drug user. Harmony is a former drug user. And she gave this speech to which Nikki sat in on and listened to. But this speech was so touching, and she explained about her road that she's taken to get here, and how it's taken her a long time to be able to get to the point of even looking into a mirror at herself and being happy with who she sees reflected back at her, and which is something that I think we can all identify with, on some level or another. Being able to look in the mirror and feel proud of yourself is sometimes a really hard place to get to, and she's finally almost getting there. But then she also mentioned that her son, Devon, provides like a whole another kind of mirror to look into. And when she said those words, I knew exactly what she meant. When she looks at Devon, she sees herself through his eyes. And it's harder for her to like herself when she looks through his eyes and sees herself, through the prism of all of the bad things that she's done to him. I mean, she told a story about how she would just dump Devon off with her mother, and sometimes she would just see him in passing when she was stopping to try to get money, and Devon would cry for her and wanted her to stay, and the grandmother would have to literally peel him off of her, and yet she would go about her own life. And I just found that to be so incredibly compelling and so identifiable. I loved the speech. I loved what was being said. I loved the delivery, and I loved seeing Harmony's situation juxtaposed with Nikki's situation. I mean, here there are two women who seemingly on the surface could not be more opposite, and they're going through the same type of struggles, because addiction is truly a disease that spans race, it spans class, it's an everyone type of disease. It can get to anyone, and it's just so interesting to see these two women on different kind of places in their lives struggling with the same thing. And they had this little meeting afterwards. They just kind of talked and connected a little bit afterwards, and connected again later at Catherine's. And I just thought, wow, I think in the future that would be a really interesting friendship, Nikki and Yolanda, and maybe Catherine too mixed in there, going out for drinks. Catherine, I want to believe that she's not using Harmony in a malicious way. I want to believe that Catherine is just trying to help someone who she thinks she can help. And knowing that it's Devon's mother, she, maybe believes that it's something that he will appreciate later down the road. And maybe he will appreciate later down the road, but it's not happening right now. Devon just wants to go about his life. He just wants to live his life and have his music career, and he doesn't want handouts from Catherine. He doesn't want handouts from anybody. And he actually found himself a partner this week. He's feeling all down in the dumps and not being able to find any money for his venture. But, oh yeah, by the way, he has a multi-billion-dollar friend in Abby. And she decides that she is going to give him funding for his music studio, which is so awesome, I think. I think that Abby owning a record label, I think, is going to be funny. I do hope they call it Naked Records. And I think Devon running this record label is going to provide for some interestingness. They have an office now. They are renting in the same building as Restless Style. And they've got all their equipment laid out, and I just think that's really cool. His studio is looking really cool. I think there's going to be some good scenes there. I think that's an indicator of Devon being on the scene a little bit more. If he's having his own set now, he's going to be around a little bit more often, and I'm kind of excited to see what he's going to do with it and how he's going to take it to that next level. And is it going to evolve into a new kind of understanding for his mother and his father? Whether or not he eventually gets close with Tucker, I don't know, but there was a little bit of, he was wavering a little bit on Harmony this week. He goes to Catherine to give her money back. She initially was funding his studio idea, and he finally said, you know what? Never mind. I don't want your money. Here's your cashier's check back. I don't need it. And Harmony was there at the same time, and he said to her, you look good, and you look like you're trying. I just want you to make sure that you're putting your faith in people who actually want to help you, and not people who want to help you for the wrong reasons or help you to try to get back at me. So there's still that question of Catherine's motives, but I think that Devon is seeing that Harmony is trying, and I think that could bode very well for their future relationship. What do you guys think? Leave me a comment. Let me know. Ooh, so Phyllis and Avery had this huge breakthrough over Thanksgiving week. They actually talked about their past, and Avery confessed that she believed that the father was guilty as well. And the two sisters had this moment. It was like a bonding moment, and it was a breakthrough. It was like the sunshine broke through the clouds. And then this week, Phyllis tried to follow up with Avery, And she actually walked up to her, you know, and realizing that Avery had this sensitive moment where she opened up and revealed something about herself. Phyllis tried to open up to Avery, and she said, so, do you maybe want to get lunch sometime? And that was hard for Phyllis. And it was, you know, because she's used to being enemies with Avery ever since she's been back in town. And Avery suddenly develops convenient amnesia. Avery looks right at Phyllis and says, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? Phyllis is like, you told me that you believed our father was guilty. Do you remember that conversation we just had? And Avery just had blankness on her face, just like refusal to acknowledge that she had had this tender moment, which I think is very telling about Avery's character. I think Avery is very compartmentalized. She is able to compartmentalize things in her brain, and I think that just says a lot about her character. And it really, really ticked off Phyllis. Phyllis is like, what? And they had this argument at the coffee house that was very, very heated. And I thought it was a really interesting scene because Michelle Stafford is such a dragon lady. I mean, Michelle Stafford eats bitches for dinner. I mean, there was just this bitch fest between Avery and Phyllis, and I just felt like Michelle Stafford was just, it was like she, unhinged her jaw and just went, and just, enveloped Avery. Go back and watch the scene, because it's ruthless. I feel like Michelle Stafford practically bullied the other actress. She was so loud and in the actress who plays Avery's face. It was ridiculous. I'm kind of trying to watch it from Avery's perspective, and it was good luck getting your lines out, because Phyllis was just loud and talking over her, and just even when Avery was saying her lines or having what she needs to say, the whole time Phyllis is on the other end going, oh, really? She's kind of a bully. But it's Phyllis's style. I mean, she doesn't do that with other, I don't think she does that with the other actors on the show, but there is something about Avery where she will barely let her get a word in edgewise. Or if Phyllis goes into defensive mode, she is vicious and she won't let you get another word out. It's not a competition of who has the better argument, it's who gets louder. I think that's how she gauges whether or not she's won or lost. But I still can't help but feel for Phyllis, because Avery is so obviously using Daisy's situation to get back at Phyllis. And I think that Nick is just a happy side note for her. I think she's genuinely interested in Nick, but I think it's just that was just a little icing on the getting back at Phyllis cake. And Phyllis decided to confront Avery again this week, and she said, you know what? Why don't you just take my whole life? You know, I mean, it's literally like you've come in and now you want to be me. You've got my whole life. And that is kind of what it's starting to look like, especially since Nick is not happy with Phyllis right now. He, I think, has put up with a lot more than he probably should have. It has been weeks and months of Phyllis at Restless style doing things without Nick's permission. She goes and writes the stories she wants. She goes and steals evidence and publishes them when she wants. She just does whatever she wants, and damn the consequences. That's who she is. It's who she's always been since the very first time she got onto this show. So since she first came onto the scene. So it's part of her personality that Nick is just fed up with. Maybe it was cute when they were having sex to make up for it, but now, no, he's over it. Nick, straight up, finally fires Phyllis from Restless style. She tries to play it off. He's like, you're fired. And she's like, oh, no, never mind. I'm not listening to you. Let's just go ahead. We'll find other stories. But he said, no, you're not listening to me. You're fired. I mean, they had a conversation about Phyllis not publishing stories about his family, and then she turns around and tries to write a story about Nikki being the main suspect in Ronan's investigation. Which, by the way, just on a little side note, Phyllis and Ronan, I mean, that's kind of another reason why this relationship is surprising, to say the least. But, I mean, not only is Ronan getting involved with a suspect, but he's getting involved with a reporter, a tabloid reporter. And he's kind of blurting out things about the case that he shouldn't be blurting out. Phyllis came to his office clearly prying, trying to find out what the newest with the investigation was so that she could print an article about it, and he almost started letting things slip. He started talking to her like she was his best buddy, like blah, 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 and catches himself and realizes that she's a reporter. And then tells her, look, you can't print anything. Anything we've talked about, you're not allowed to print. So what does Phyllis do? Goes back to Restless style and writes up an article that she's going to print? Nick be damned, Ronan be damned. And if she would have done it, obviously that relationship would have been over. I mean, she betrayed Ronan right there. Where is this relationship going to possibly go? She's already betrayed him. He told her things in confidence, and she just crapped on it. She just pissed on it. She was just like, whatever. I'm going to write a story about it. I am who I am. Deal with it. That's always how she is. And she got herself fired for it. So I hope she has a plan for a new job. I mean, I imagine that now that Phyllis has decided, now that she's fired, she's going to take Lucy and go on a little bit of a vacation. So it sounds like maybe Michelle Stafford's going to get herself a little bit of vacation, which she deserves. She's been in every scene, I think, for the past month. So girl needs a break. So I have a feeling we may be seeing a little bit less of her on the scene. And also it seems to be kind of the final tie between her and Nick. Of course, they still share Summer, they still share a daughter, but now that she's not working at Restless Style, I don't think that there's really a whole lot of reasons for her and Nick to be together, and I don't know. I mean, maybe that's going to lead into Ronan and Phyllis growing closer and closer. Now, Nick is not going to be working at Restless Style very much longer either. Early in the week, Billy saunters on into the magazine and happens to offer Nick some money to buy Restless Style. And at first Nick is like, no, I'm not going to sell it. It's my job. But then as things started to come to a boil with Phyllis and, he's feeling like the magazine is more trouble than it's worth, and it's not really, he's not able to really give of himself the way he wanted to, he finds himself in a situation of thinking, you know what, maybe I will switch jobs. So he's having a conversation with Victoria about it, and Victoria is realizing that she's sort of in the same place too. She's quit her job at Newman, which she should have done after she won the lawsuit. Victoria should never have gone back to work at Newman Enterprises. She did so at her own peril, and she lost as a result of it. Now she's got no job. But she and Nick are finding themselves in the same place at the same time, and they're starting to talk about starting a new business, which I love. I love this idea. Nick and Victoria in business together, doing something fun, fresh, innovative. This is what I've been asking for since they won the lawsuit. So I'm really, really excited to see what that evolves into. And I think possibly the nicest part of this would be, is it going to be something that could compete with Newman? Because I got to tell you, the scenes, any scene where Adam is hanging out in Victor's office, sitting behind the chair, making himself comfortable, acting like he is the man in charge, and especially when Victoria goes back to the office to try to get her things now that she's quit. She wants to pack up her desk and get her last check and get out of there. Adam's sitting behind the desk while she's on the other side, and he's loving it. He's the son, that he's not the only sibling that's working at Newman Enterprises. He's the only descendant of Victor's that's working at Newman Enterprises, and he is loving every moment of it. And I love Michael Mooney in those scenes. I love him at work. I love him in the business scenes. I love him in the office. I just think that he is at his best there. He's so smarmy, and he just plays that so well. And I am really hoping that whatever it is that that Victoria and Nick come up with for their new business idea, I hope they start going head to head with Adam. Victoria and Billy are all back together, and they're all smoochy faced. I love you, Victoria. I love you, Billy. I missed you so much. Let's hang our our Hef and the bunny picture over the mantle and let's be all cute together. They're totally like back together, back on track, but oh wait, oops, the divorce is final. Finally their marriage, after all of this has gone down, finally they're back together and now they're divorced. So I would not be surprised if there wasn't a proposal coming from Billy in the coming weeks. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we saw Billy and Victoria getting remarried again. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a double wedding with Kevin and Chloe, although I don't think Chloe would be very good to share the spotlight. She's already got Victoria pegged as her maid of honor, and that's where she's going to stay. I'm having mixed feelings, as you know. I have mixed feelings about Kevin and Chloe. I have mixed feelings about Billy and Victoria. I'm torn. I am very torn. And it seems that I change week to week as to how I feel. Kevin and Chloe. I think a Christmas wedding is going to be really cute. And I don't know, have we ever really seen Chloe go out for a wedding? I mean, she is the fashionista. I would love to see her dress. I would love to see the decorations. I'm sure it would be at the Chancellor House. Like, I would love to see Chloe's wedding. I'm just not sure that it should be to Kevin. I think Kevin and Chloe are really great friends. I think they complement each other in a really wonderful way. I think that they've been there for each other through thick and through thin. However, there's a couple of issues with their relationship for me. Number one, as someone pointed out to me last week, Kevin accepted his proposal to Chloe with the lie that he was telling in between them. You know, I mean, when he accepted her proposal, he was keeping something pretty major from her. And that doesn't seem like a good place to start a relationship. I hate it when the men feel like they have to keep things from the women in order to protect them. That just bothers me personally. But I think, you know, the other issue with Chloe and Kevin is I feel that their magic together is of a friendship variety. I don't feel that they have some kind of great passion together. I mean, when do we ever even see them making love? There was one time on the couch in the back of Crimson Lights that they decided to do it. But other than that, we don't really see a whole lot of passion between them. We see a lot of Chloe being grateful to Kevin for everything that he's done and her saying what a good guy he is and all that, but I don't feel like she's drawn toward him in a romantic sort of way. I think that it's misplaced feelings, and I think it's quite clear, actually. I think that she has projected her, need for security onto Kevin. She first saw him as the hero for saving Delia's life, and now she is seeing him as this stable point, something to make her life stable with this little family, her and Delia and Kevin, and they're a nice little unit, and she feels safe with Kevin. He's probably not going to cheat on her. He's not going to screw her over and leave her the way the other guys in her life have done, where it's like she was married to Billy, and he was so out there. He was so unpredictable, and she was involved with Ronan, and he ended up leaving her and breaking her heart, and now Kevin is not someone who would do that. Kevin is always there. He's secure. And I think that's why she's wanting to marry him. I just don't know that that's going to turn into anything lasting. And I don't know. I still, like I said, I feel torn. I still feel a little irritated with Billy. I kind of feel like it's just ever since he's been revealed himself as being back in town, it's been like magic forgive Billy week. It's just all magically fairy dust, and everybody thinks that everything's fine. Nobody's mad at Billy. Nobody cares where he's been. Like, Billy had everyone worried for months. Jack, I think, went to Asia to try to find him. They were all worried sick. They tried, it's been, where's Billy? Where's Billy? For months. He missed Ashley's wedding. And now that he's back, both Ashley and Jack are letting him get away with not answering questions about where he's been. I just don't believe that. And I don't believe that Chloe forgave him so easily. Chloe was so furious with him, and she was furious with Victor, and now it seems like she's forgetting that. Like, she had this moment with Billy this week where she basically said, I would hate you if I wasn't so glad that you were alive for my daughter's sake. And I'm sure that Chloe is just trying to do what's best for Delia. She realizes that her daughter loves her father and needs her father, and so she doesn't want to keep Billy out of her life, and she doesn't want to create tension. In fact, she has gone out of her way to create a stable environment for Delia by, letting her and Kevin and Billy and Victoria all go to see Delia together and have the child see that they're all getting along very well. And I think that Chloe's number one concern is her daughter's health at this point. It's just also so kind of hard for me to believe that she's just going so soft on this sort of horrible thing that went down between Billy and Victor. Like, I don't know, like, where Billy is concerned, I like him and I believe that he loves his daughter, I believe that he loves his wife, but then on the other hand, I'm like, does everyone in this town have amnesia? Okay, well, whew, that was a long one. I had a lot to say, but I enjoy just sitting down and letting it flow, just chatting about my favorite show with you, and I hope that you are enjoying listening to me and hopefully chatting back with me. So leave me a comment. If you've made it all the way to the end of this, surely you have some opinions. Agree with me, disagree with me, either way, I don't care, but leave me a comment. Just type it down and let me know what you're thinking about this week's show. And if you have any predictions, where do you think we're going in the future? I mean, I'm really hoping that the Diane Jenkins murder case is getting wrapped up soon. But until then, why don't you leave me a comment and let me know exactly what you think happened to Diane or anything else. Any of the other storylines that you have an opinion on. Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. I'm going to be watching very anxiously next week, and I'm going to be hoping for some movement. I'm going to see some things develop. And I'll be thinking of you guys the entire time and watching right along with you. So I think that's going to be it for me for now. But I'm going to be back. We're going to chat again next week. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. We're going to get it all out. We're going to work through all of this stuff. We're going to work through things. And I'm going to love every minute of it just as I love you guys. All right. Everyone have an awesome week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.